Hi friends, this tutorial is going to be a short CSS tutorial and we'll be recreating this button animation. I spotted this button on the Stripe's website and I thought it was very neat. My recreation of it is not going to be exact of what they did here, but the final result is going to be close enough. To get started, I do have a CodePen here. We already have some of the buttons set up. I will link this blank file in the description if you want to follow along. But what I have here is a little bit of HTML, just the button, and then a little bit of styles. So style for the background color, some margin for CodePen purposes only, so it's not super close to the edge. Font size, I will be making this button bigger than what's on the landing page, so it's easier to see. And then some padding, border radius. I actually don't need this here. And then for hover, we have a color change, and then on focus, I added a little bit of offset so it's easier to see the focus state. The first thing that we're going to do, we're actually not going to start in CodePen, and we're going to start in Figma. So I have this empty file here, and what I'm going to do is create our arrow. I'm going to begin by creating a polygon, and I'll rotate it like this. Then I'm going to double click and delete this side, but we can still see that even though our fill disappeared, we still have these two sides here. So we're going to add a stroke, maybe do like 2 for now. And we're also going to make this much smaller. Double click again and select this middle point. And then you can just use your arrow keys to adjust however you would like it to be. Next step, we're going to create a line and give it a width of 2 pixels. And I'm going to try to place it not like super close to the edge, to the right edge, but closer to the left edge. It's going to help with animation later on. Maybe we'll also increase the width to 3 pixels. Once you are satisfied with your arrow, what you're going to do is copy it as SVG. And now we're going to return back to the CodePen, and you can place the SVG right inside your button. You can also format the HTML so it looks nicer. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace stroke black to current color. So no matter what we change the button color to, for example, something like pink, our arrow is going to respect that color change. Now that we have our arrow, we can start animating it. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to give our overall SVG a class, arrow icon. And then to this first section here, our path, it's going to be this tip. So we'll give it arrow icon tip. And then our second one is going to be the line part. So there are going to be 2 parts to our animation. The first part is that the tip of the arrow, it's going to shift slightly to the right when we hover over the button. And the second part is that initially our line is not visible, but when we hover over it, it becomes visible. Let's start by animating our line. In CSS, we're going to target our line. And initially, we're going to set the opacity to 0, so it's not going to be visible. But then when we hover over the whole button, we want to target this line and we want to make it visible. So where I have my button here, I already have this hover section here. What I can do is add arrow icon line inside and do opacity 1. Now when I hover over it, you can see that the line appears. Currently, it's very rigid, which might be what you're going for, or maybe you want to add a little bit of easing so that it's not as abrupt. And to do that, you can add transition, and then we're targeting opacity. And we want it to be quite quick, 150 milliseconds. And now you can see that there is slight easing. So we also currently don't have a transition for the background color change of the button. That's also something that we could add. and we can keep it the same length. Now that we've animated our line and also added a smoother transition to the overall pattern, we can animate this little tip part. For the tip line, we're going to use a transform. We're going to, by default, shift it to the left. So we're going to transform and translate X and do 3 pixels. So now when we hover over it, you can see that the tip is more to the left than it used to be, and it looks kind of broken. So for unhover, what we're going to do is select our tip, and we're going to place it back where it used to be. So you can see that it goes back to its initial position, but once again, it happens quite abruptly. And the reason for that is that we don't have a transition specified. So we're going to copy this and add this to our tip. And we just want to make sure that we change the opacity to transform. And now it looks a lot smoother. One other thing that I'm going to do is, right now we have padding left and right both set to 24 pixels, but optically, because of this icon, it looks like the padding on the right is bigger than on the left. So we're going to adjust it. I'm going to say 20 pixels for padding right. It is a little smaller, but it does look better this way. And that's it for this animation. And the thing that I just added off camera is, so before we just had the hover selector, and when I would focus on this button, we would not get this background color change and the arrow change, but I wanted to have that in the focus state as well. So I added the focus selector, and now when you focus on the bottom, you get these changes. And that's it for the animation. One thing that we didn't do is that we didn't set any custom easings. Instead, I'm just using the default CSS ease. But if you actually go to the stripes page and inspect the button, you can see that they have a custom curve. I'm not very familiar with curves, so typically I just stick with either the default CSS or any of the CSS presets. Aside from that, that's it for this video. I hope this was useful, and until next time, bye-bye.